Doktor Rinu sendiri salah tanggapan masyarakat. Macam kalau saya bariatric surgery ni senang je. Fastest way to kurus ataupun nama dia magic. Ting macam tu kau boleh kurus. So salah tanggapan masyarakat.
Okay, nombor satu, macam saya kata, bariatric surgery bukan pembedahan orang kaya. Okay, government hospitals pun provide this service, so please erase that from your mind. Number dua, dia bukan shortcut. Tanyalah patient-patient saya yang dah lalui bariatric surgery ni. Okay, the easiest part sebenarnya is the surgery. The post surgery tu, sometimes I tell you, I always tell patient first 3 months sometimes dia akan fikir kan, kenapalah saya buat benda ni. But I tell them, you get past these three months, okay, iktihad untuk atasi the 3 months tu. 1 year from now, you will forget all the kesusahan and in fact you will be telling people, buatlah surgery. Kenapa tak nak buat? Tengok dah tak boleh jalan, pakai insulin, blah blah blah, you got darah tinggi, do. You will become an advocate because you see the way it has changed your life and you will forget. Kalau orang tanya kan, sakit tak buat? Tak adalah. Susah tak? Tak adalah. Padahal 3 bulan pertama jadi macam baby, Dr. Renu kena jaga. You know? A real
big baby.
24/7, okay? 24/7, you can ask them. So that is the salah tanggapan. Another thing is that they always say, benda ni is, nak cantik. You see, my answer to that is, any weight loss, you do intermittent fasting, you do keto, paleo, whichever diet you choose, you go on an extreme boot camp for exercise, you lose weight, you're gonna look gorgeous, you're gonna look handsome.
Yeah.
Correct or not? Right?
Betul.
So one of the side effect of bariatric surgery is to lose weight. You understand? But the reason they're doing it is for health, adalah untuk kesihatan. Okay, sebab utama is untuk kesihatan. You imagine being married 10 years, okay, you're obese, married 10 years, dah fail IVF, dah fail IUI banyak kali, gugur banyak kali. You know, people always ask the lady, berapa belanja? So much dah bazir, 55,000 each time fertility. Tak ada seorang pun tanya, how are you? Are you okay?
Yes.
How do you feel? You know, hold her. Because ladies, bila dia gugur atau dia ada masalah infertility, it affects them emotionally. Even for men. Men yang ada masalah, nobody asks them if they're okay. You know? You come, you do bariatric surgery, I tell them, look, forget about fertility sekejap. You focus on you. You focus on your weight loss, okay? And God willing, it will happen for you. Baby will come, but you focus on you sekejap. And when they bring a child into my clinic, you know, a year, 2 years after surgery, it is the best thing in the world. Dia orang kata cucu-cucu Dr. Renu ni, I'm not that old. Renu, you know? So it is the best thing in the world to see these patients carry. When I get PT positif, dia orang hantar saya kan, I feel like it's a part of my family yang ada baby, you know.
Okay. So tadi kita cakap pasal misconception. Dr. Wan, saya nak tanya, ni pun ada salah satu misconception juga. Lelaki, ada ke yang buat plastic surgery?
Okay, plastic surgery kalau in the broad sense so ada lah. Sebab plastic surgery untuk lelaki kita buat from hair transplant, that kind of thing memang ada. Tapi kalau untuk body contouring ni, untuk malam punya discussion ni ada juga memang kita buat. So yang paling common kalau lelaki ni adalah gynecomastia lah. Kalau yang bukan weight loss, maknanya dia ada tisu breast yang agak lebih. And then kita ada buat juga liposuction, sama juga, maknanya untuk buangkan lemak yang degil untuk lelaki. Untuk create six packs. Tapi itulah maknanya indication tu must be very clear. So macam saya kata tadi lah, the assessment is very detailed. Kalau patient tu betul-betul akan benefit, then kita akan proceed. Tapi kalau macam post bariatric, memang ada yang ramai juga saya jumpa patient-patient yang memang dah banyak sangat kulit lebih. So dia ada macam tanah tu macam chicken wing. Lepas tu dia ada flabby banyak sangat. So memang kita akan buatlah body contouring tu.
So ni pun misconception yang paling teruk. Sorry.
You see, a lot of people think what Shazli does is cosmetic, but I look at it. Okay, that's why today's talk dia nampak macam kita versus tau. Tapi sebenarnya
dia membincangkan kita pencerahan.
I have so much of respect for what Dr. Wan Shazli does, because if somebody, okay, ada daging gelebe and they are not given an option, dia tak diberitahu, you have this option tau. Dia setiap kali dia mandi or looks at himself or herself in front of the mirror, you know how he feels. You look at that skin kan, you rasa macam body image issue tau. You don't like what you're seeing. You feel insecure. You rasa down.
Betul.
You know, and you become daripada your true personality sebenarnya peramah. Tapi you hide. And when you have this Tamita, okay, removal body contouring ni, tiba-tiba a more outgoing person. You feel more confident.
Confident, yes.
You know,
yes.
so it is very therapeutic. It can literally change a person's personality from being very withdrawn to the flower that bloomed person, you know, blossom personality kan.
Yes. Yeah. I've seen that. What Benu said many times. You can see that whether they're happy, they datang to clinic, they are very like a different person now. You know. Yeah.
So I mean macam yelah misconception paling terbesar bagi netizen sebab lelaki kenapa you pun buat plastic surgery ke? Kan biasanya perempuan je yang buat plastic surgery. Oh rupanya ada ya. So you guys kalau nak tanya soalan kepada Dr. Renew dan juga Dr. Wan Shazli, inilah masa yang paling sesuai untuk anda tanya kepada kita punya panelis malam ni. Dan kalau anda nak share pendapat ke ataupun anda pernah menjalani pembedahan bariatrik ataupun tamita ataupun lain section, anda boleh share dengan kita orang. Dan kalau anda share kalau anda bersama dengan kita sehingga ke penghujung rancangan ni, insyaAllah anda akan dapat memenangi hadiah-hadiah di situ yang bernilai 1,000 ya, 1,000. Dan nanti doktor akan tanya soalan, kalau anda dapat jawab soalan dengan betul pun bakal menerima hadiah tersebut. Saya ada soalan, apakah beza bengkung selepas bersalin dengan penjagaan selepas bedah bariatrik? Beza bengkung?
Sorry. Pembedahan apa?
Beza bengkung selepas bersalin dengan penjagaan selepas bedah bariatrik. Beza.
Okay, so I don't know much about bengkung, but from what I understand there are two types. Satu yang just only the bahagian abdomen, lagi sampai peha, correct?
Yes.
Correct? Okay, alright. Kalau yang nak berbengkung tu boleh, tak ada masalah. But bengkung tu tak meliputi tangan kan?
Tak ada.
Tak ada kan?
Tak
so I suggest, tak payah beli yang mahal-mahal. Pergi Uniqlo beli 29 sekarang tak boleh pergilah. You can buy online. You can buy compression wear, sports compression yang ketat, okay, you tak mampu yang beli jenama-jenama mahal because post-bariatric surgery, penurunan berat badan is very fast. So if you spend RM500 on a compression wear, 2 bulan tak boleh pakai. So don't buy very expensive things. Just buy one size smaller than what your size is. Biar dia hold your skin nicely, okay. Kalau 2 bulan dia dah longgar, buy something else. Buy another size lah kan. Don't spend too much initially sebab you're not going to be able to use it more than 2 months, believe me. 2 bulan memang kena tukar. So dia punya compression wear tu kena meliputi as much of your body parts kalau boleh. Bukan sahaja bahagian abdomen, tapi also your peha and your tangan.
Okay. So the next question, I don't know whether Dr. Renew atau Dr. Wan Shazli boleh tolong jawabkan. Adakah abdomen boleh mengecut juga tanpa abdominoplasty?
It depends on your initial weight, okay, nombor satu. And also it depends on the texture of your kulit. Kalau see some ladies they would have had 3-4 kids tapi kulit dia lawa, tak saggy.
Macam anak dara.
Yes, you know, amazing. Sometimes you look at them like, you're 50, you don't look it at all. They really pandai jaga. So those kind of normally post-op saya tak nampak sangat sagging to the point where they actually tell me, doctor, I'm troubled by it, I need to do a tummy tuck. But most people are not blessed with that kind of skin. Okay, if you don't do exercise, it's going to sag even more. So that's the thing. Every patient is different. I never tell one rule fits all. Tapi when I see a patient first time dekat klinik tu, saya akan cakap, okay, your tummy ni dah memang jatuh. Some of them dah jatuh sampai mid-thigh, you know, the tummy, the foot. I would be lying if I say benda tu akan ketat balik. It's already benda tu jatuh, right? It's already dropped. So these kind of patients, I tell them upfront, look, you most likely are going to need it, but don't think about it now. You focus on your health dulu. Like what Dr. Wan Shazli said, give yourself 18 months to 2 years kan. 18 months onwards, 6 bulan static tu, then want to do tummy tuck, do it because it's the right time. Sebab maximum weight loss dah happen. Jangan buat tummy tuck in between tengah lose weight tu. Then like Dr. Shazli said, the outcome tak lawa because you're still losing weight, you know. You want to really lose, biar dia static, then you have your tuck. Then outcome dia lawa.
Okay. So dia tak adalah boleh mengecut tanpa sendirinya.
No, you can. Some like I said, quality kulit. Kalau quality kulit lawa, okay, yang patients benda tu memang tak ada tisu yang dah memang tergantung, it can. There are equal number of patients who don't need tucks, equal number of patients who need a tuck.
Bergantung juga. So untuk Dr. Wan, nak tanya Dr. Wan ada background in Korea kan, Dr. Wan punya qualification daripada South Korea kan? South Korea ada. Okay.
South Korea.
Okay,
Not
so
Korea.
tu macam fikir juga South ke not kan? So
North tak balik dah.
tak balik. Okay. Yelah, plastik surgery ni kan dah jadi booming industri dekat South Korea kan. So dengan advance dia punya medical technologies, dengan dia punya social culture, yang orang kata kalau kau buat plastik surgery mancangkan hidung tu memang kau paling cantik lah. So apa yang doktor punya experience kalau doktor masa kat Korea tu, adakah ini perkara yang sangat biasa ataupun adakah kita boleh ikut budaya mereka? Esok juga saya buat appointment doktor.
Okay, macam ni. From my experience tu kan, masa dekat Korea, yang satu yang saya suka lah, mana saya suka tengok, is that dia orang satu community yang pentingkan image. So that means, forget about yang orang kata operation umur 17 tahun, 16 tahun plastic surgery, apa semua tu. Itu is one thing lah. Tapi populasi dia secara in general. Maksudnya kalau kita naik dia punya komuter, dekat sana everything is komuter. Ataupun LRT. So orang tak bawa kereta sangat. Because kat sana dia very extensive. So you masuk dalam tu, macam makcik-makcik ataupun nenek-nenek umur 60 tahun, 70 tahun. Dia very conscious in terms of dia punya appearance. Kalau kita tengok uncle-uncle dia pun dengan topi dia, kita pun malu dia. Tapi maknanya budaya dia macam tu. So dia memang suka kemas. Tapi in other words, in terms of plastic surgery tu memanglah kadang-kadang bila I pergi training tu, budak-budak hadiah dia bila umur dia 17 tahun, macam dah habis SPM, parent dia akan hadiahkan satu plastic surgery procedure.
Wow.
Tapi that one is a bit too extreme lah, I think kan. Cumanya dekat sana tu sebab dia per capita tu paling tinggi di dunia lah in terms of plastic surgery procedures.
No wonder lah cerita dia orang semua Jungkook Wook ke apa An Junggung ke semua macam segak sebelah ke ya.
Yeah.
So I mean okay, I ada receive question daripada Dr. Wan Shazli yang ini I receive earlier masa I post this poster kan. BMI over 30 nak buat liposuction, boleh ke?
Over 30? Sebab tu I kata kalau kes-kes macam tu you kena tengok banyak benda, kena faktor, kena tengok. Mungkin kalau BMI terlalu tinggi macam tu, dia lebih kepada lemak visceral, kulit tu tak banyak sangat lebih. Sebab plastic surgery ni is actually targeted area. So kalau macam dia untuk kuruskan badan tu mungkin sesuai kepada sama ada go for weight loss ataupun go for bariatric procedures macam tu. Dia very clear. So kalau dia jumpa BMI 30 tapi dia nak macam go for weight loss macam Renu cakap ataupun nak hilangkan comorbidity, diabetes, hypertension untuk dapatkan fertility treatment, maybe sesuai pada bariatric dulu macam tu. So it's very clear. Macam plastic surgery ni very clear. Dia maknanya kita target area yang stubborn area sahaja dan indication tu very clear sebab tu. Tapi in a way kena assess lah. Mana patient kena datang, kita akan tengok secara klinikal. Because at the end of the day tu, macam I dengan Renu, at the end of the day we are still doctors and trained surgeon. So kita akan tengok patient back to the basic in terms of medical approach macam tu.
If let's say patient, like for me, I have to be patient in the obese category kan. For you,
yes.
Understanding. Let's say tadi sebab saya nampak one soalan, so I just tolong tanyakan. Let's say patient is just 24, maybe 25 BMI. Actually for like we don't depend on BMI kan, betul tak? It just
exactly.
Need BMI, you don't need BMI kan? It's just
we don't really need.
Correct.
Betul. Not really BMI.
When it comes to seeing Dr. Wan Shazli, okay? But of course kalau tinggi sangat, then Dr. Wan Shazli will assess and then dia akan decide apa yang sepatutnya lah. Tapi rendah-rendah tu, 24, 25 semua, if you have troubled areas, stubborn areas, when you see it, will assess and tengok apa solution untuk kamu, the best thing.
Ya,
dan kadang-kadang solution tu, satu lagi Sri, kadang-kadang solution tu tak semestinya pembedahan. Tu yang saya cakap tadi. Sometimes we can go for benda-benda yang tak perlu pembedahan. So macam energy based treatment ataupun radio frequency macam tu lah.